our kids' imaginations, watching kites fly, and then we bury that imagination. We grow up and suppress all those childlike functions that make us human. We have to love and forgive our inner child. It may seem a little silly, and some people may ask, well, what is our inner child, and what does that even mean? Well, we're going to go into that in pretty good detail here, so stick around with us. It's pretty fun, and it's something that we believe is vital for our own personal self-growth. We all have this inner child inside of us, and we can all imagine that it is outside of us and we can talk to it, which sounds a little funny. But I think if we just use our imagination a little bit, because God gave us the ability to imagine. And without imagination, we would have nothing, like quite literally nothing. So it is important for us to utilize the tools that the universe, God, gave us so that we can learn how to know ourselves, love ourselves, and forgive ourselves. And we should not squander this gift of imagination. We have so many gifts that are inside of us, and imagination is one of those vital, vital tools. And then you can think, if I could imagine my younger self sitting next to me, what would I say to that young kid? How would I nurture that inner self and get myself back in alignment? And some people would just ask, why do I even need to talk to my inner child? What are you even talking about? And I would say, because we all are on emotional tightropes. We're all about to fall off. We're all emotionally, unless you're enlightened, you're on an emotional tightrope that can be pretty devastating if you just fall off. And most of us fall off all the time. And there's a lot to discuss with the inner child, from forgiveness. Forgiving our parents for getting divorced. You know, it wasn't your inner child's fault. You know, forgiveness from betraying a friend or a friend betraying you. Forgiveness from not standing up to bullies or protecting others from them, and how that really shapes and affects our life for years to come, even our entire lifetime. And forgiveness for making decisions that take us down wrong paths. Forgiveness from hurting ourselves emotionally and hurting others emotionally. Having a distant parent and what that means to the child, a teacher that says you're stupid or says you're smart whenever you know you cheated, or all these things, a girlfriend or boyfriend dumps you at a young age. All of these things leave big marks on us that really go unresolved for either most or all of our lives. That's just some reasons that we should get to know and love ourselves and our inner child. The inner child may feel guilty for making decisions that put you on an undesirable path. Like, we may feel guilty that, you know, man, I really started using drugs at a really young age, and that really had a very negative effect on me the rest of my life. Some people have that experience, and they don't know how to deal with it. They feel guilty, they feel bad. And there's a whole host of things that we've all done in our youth that we wish that we could change. And that inner child needs reassurance that new decisions can be made now, and it's not too late. It's never too late. And we have these inner energies at different layers of our body and all inside of us, and they're referred to as chakras. And if we are not in line with our own personal energies, then we're out of sync. We're on that tightrope just dancing, about just to fall off at any moment. And it can be very dangerous emotionally. And it can cause us to have very unstable relationships. It can cause us to have very unstable self-worth and really put a big damper on how we communicate with ourselves and with others. And if our energies aren't truly in sync, then we cannot fully reach inner peace. There cannot be any inner peace without an understanding of how our energies work. And are we too egocentric to have these conversations with our inner child? I know some manly guys that will go, oh, that's stupid, this is silly, this is a weak sort of thing to be doing. I would say no. I think it's one of the most manly things, and I think it's one of the most feminine, beautiful things, along with being extraordinarily masculine. And we can look at some of these things that most people suppress and believe it's, not, quote, strong to discuss. And then we just live our whole lives in denial because, we're too tough to talk about these things. And I would say, as a child, were you the one bullying the other kid, or were you the one being bullied? And how does that mark your life forever? And mostly always goes unresolved. Same way, were you the bully that slapped the kid down, or were you the one getting knocked down? And what kind of scar does that have on you forever? A lot of these decisions shaped our life. And what are the ramifications of not taking up for a defenseless kid? You know, if you're guilty and responsible for not taking up for another kid with a bully, how does that outlook change you for the rest of your life? Do you walk around then scared forever? You allow yourself to fall victim to other bullies for the rest of your life, whether it is coworkers, whether it is family, friends, anybody. Now, on the flip side of that, what kind of confidence booster did that give you when you did take up for the defenseless kid? Did that make you become more aware, more hyper in tune that you can help others? It's something that we should all consider, very much so. How these decisions and who we are affects us forever. Like these kids just sucking the energy out of this poor kid, making fun of him. Why, certainly people are walking up and down the hall not doing a thing about it. Or one guy standing there trying to defend themselves, a bunch of other little punks, while people in the background, I'm sure they have their phones out taking pictures of it and not doing anything. It's a sad state of circumstances that we should really address, especially in this insane world that we live in. And what about being average or a failure in school? Because school is just like an assembly line. They just rush you through. It is not individualized at all. And so if you got a C or you got an F, what does that do to you as a person? Can you go back and talk and nurture that inner child and say, hey, it's okay. They did not teach you the way you needed to be taught. So that's not a reflection upon you. It's a reflection upon something else. Not that you're passing the buck or the blame, but what about parents blaming you for their problems? Oh, my wife left me. You know, it's your fault. You know, that kind of stuff happens, unfortunately. What kind of scars does that leave on the child? And how does that affect you? And how does that make you spark off in anger for the rest of your life? You know, yelling, oh, you didn't clean your room. Oh, God, this is horrible. Non-stop. We've seen this, and most of us have experienced it, and it's disheartening. And how can any individual have any inner peace without resolving these issues? They must be dealt with. I mean, we have to deal with our inner self, because we have to become our best friend. If we can't be our own best friend, then how can we be a good friend to anybody else? We can't. You know, if you don't have a meaningful relationship with yourself, then how can you have a meaningful relationship with others? And ultimately, how can you fully communicate with God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, if you don't know how to communicate with yourself? You can't. And we all have these energies, and we all can elevate ourselves, and we can all increase our vibrations, and we can increase how our energy works. And if our energy is in line, then we can better communicate with others, people that we care about, people that we just meet. We can commune with the universe and with nature, with God himself. And we must take time for our inner child. We make time for everything else. We make time for little silly things. We make time to play video games. We make time to watch a movie. We make time to do all these things. But if we don't take time for the most important relationship that we have, and that is with ourselves, it becomes an issue. And some stress of misalignment comes from our inner child being confused. You're like, where are we now? Well, how did we get here? What did I do to cause us to get to this spot? And that inner child also needs forgiveness in order to forgive us now for the decisions we're making as adults, because that inner child could go, man, I thought we were making all the right decisions, and then you became an adult and you started screwing things up. That little child needs to be talked to and reassured. That inner child may wonder why these decisions, or this decision, or any decision, when I did these supposedly good things. And that's an issue. You know, like this kid, he's making A's, he's going out of his way. I can do it. We're gonna be great. And then as you become an adult, you know, you make a couple of wrong decisions. So you have to forgive yourself as an adult and have that communication with yourself. Like, okay, I made this, and why did I make it? How did I make it? So I don't make those mistakes again. And how can I move on and surround myself with good people? You know, you're a little kid, you know, I'm going to hit this target. I'm going to be an astronaut, or I'm going to be whatever, you know, and something else just kind of happened. A little kid, you know, she wants to be an entrepreneur and then ends up working for somebody else her whole life, but that was a dream. Or a kid's imaginations, watching kites fly, and then we bury that imagination. We grow up and suppress all those childlike functions that make us human. We have all this love in our heart as kids. We want to share it. We want to laugh and play with our parents and our loved ones. And as we grow older, a lot of us become jaded, and we become unlike our inner child. And our inner child most certainly is sad. Your inner child may wonder and be out of sync because the adult has had some setbacks without any communication. We must imagine ourselves talking to that inner child and loving it, nurturing, say, hey, that mistake, that thing was not so bad. You were not the cause of your parents getting a divorce. You are not the cause of your parents dying in a car crash. You are not the cause of your parents' business going under and now you have a whole different standard of living. There are a lot of things that we have to discuss with ourselves so we can fully know ourselves and grow into wisdom, because if we don't, we will never find wisdom, we'll never find inner peace, and we'll never find any contentment and happiness. And we have to embrace that inner child so that benefit of being able to have more hugs with the people you care for have a deeper meaning. And I tell you, hugs are extraordinarily important. Somebody sitting out here with me now, actually two people. One of them gave me the hug the other day. He saw that I was frustrated and I was irritated, and he smiled and he said, come over here, Kevin, let me give you a hug. And I really didn't feel like giving a hug, but he had a warm, welcoming smile and he was wanting to hug me. And I hugged him and I loved it, and his good energy radiated onto me, and I was extraordinarily appreciative, and I was thankful that I have such good friends and good people around me. So thanks, Ricky. And it's important. We all feel better with good, genuine hugs. I mean, you just kind of get happy looking at other people hug. It just makes you feel good instead of being 6 feet apart. It's really important. Now, this practice requires time. We all can make 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to sit and to think. And we can do it. One of the tools, and I think the best tool to do this, is to journal. And that's a manly looking guy right there, just sitting writing in his journal. Writing down, contemplating, what were those biggest moments in our youth that made a big difference to us? What was it? What were the positive ones, the negative ones? And how can we see how that affected our personalities and who we became as adults? And then what sort of disappointments that we have in ourselves that we beat up ourselves over? And then how do we find forgiveness for ourselves? If we can't forgive ourselves, we can never forgive anybody else. We can never have full understanding and compassion with others if we cannot have it for ourselves. We're always going to be on that emotional tightrope. We're always going to be quick with our temper. We're going to be quick to want to be physically violent. We're going to be quick to want to be a smart ass. We're going to be quick to wanting to put somebody else down. If we don't have that inner relationship and begin working on that constantly, it's a never-ending process, and it is important for us to do. And to see any woman writing in a journal just gives inspiration, I think, to men to go, I can do that too. I can. And I highly recommend it. It is the most powerful tool to take 10, 15, 20 minutes by yourself and write down all of the mistakes that you need to forgive yourself over. And know that it's not too late. You can do other things now that can put you on the right path of whatever your goals may be, and how to reach that higher level of understanding and compassion and connection with other people. That is meaningful. Just love and embrace yourself. The world is increasingly growing insane. This world is becoming more insane by the day. And if we don't learn to forgive and know ourselves, there's absolutely no way to fix anything. We're going to always blame something else, somebody else. We're going to always not look to solutions, but look to how we can hate somebody else more, how we can destroy the other person more, how we can tear apart another country more, how we can do all of these destructive things instead of, if we work on ourselves, it's easy to start radiating that positivity to other people. And especially amongst our own individual circles. Like, we're all struggling. So if we can help each other, know ourselves, and find that positive nature inside of ourselves, we can change the world. We can change ourselves and help other people know and change themselves for the better every day. And it's important to have those kind of people around us. So with that, every Sunday at 1:30, We gather here today to go in depth about all these issues. And on April 2nd, we have pruning day. We have a 400 tree orchard out here that has peaches, apples, pears, nectarines, figs. If you come out here and participate in pruning with us, you get to come back during harvest time. You can come back anytime, but you can come back during harvest time and get some big old free bags of whatever harvest brings. So we welcome you and we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.